There's just a lot of sort of mundane tasks in our lives that I feel like AI can, and I would be happy if could easily take over. But I think the human side of things, if AI became a barrier rather than a tool to help improve human relations and relationships, then I think that would be a sort of a scary thing.
So human contact is necessary
Mm-hmm.
for individual us to be individual existence. It's our part of our who we are. It just can't replace that because there's no soul to soul connection. Well, I'm not going to be in a relationship or have date an AI robot or something like that. So I need another human being in order other people to live in this world. Can't imagine. Can you imagine living in this world with just robots and yourself? It it would seem like a form of hell.
I can see my son. So we talk about it many times. How the new generation is relying so much on AI for anything, conversations. They play so much video games that they're not socializing anymore as they used to. Like I can go anywhere and have a conversation with anybody, but they don't feel comfortable talking to someone outside of their own world because they know that out of that safe zone they might be rejected. And I think AI it's fixing that mentality of like I feel safe talking to whoever I want from this side on my own house. But if I go outside, I might be rejected because I'm not like them. They're not like me, and there's so many things going on. So I think that's the part that I think it's affecting, especially like my son. He's 18. He doesn't really go out, and he loves playing video games. He's so comfortable talking to people, doing things, saying things. He feels safe.
I agree that I don't want to make the world more antisocial than it is, and I do want to maintain like human to human connections. But on the other hand, I think that there is a major use case for an AI companion. Like there are lots of people who are lonely, lots of people who have some either neurological or personality disorder or a physical disorder, like people who are like locked in or like who are bedridden and like uh, just in a nursing home 24/7 with like people caring for them, but like no like real social interactions. Like yeah, I mean those people should absolutely have an AI companion.
I mean, you have the self checkouts where you're not talking to a real person. And you want to call somebody on the phone, you have to answer 20 questions on the phone before you actually talk to anybody. I just, I don't know. I'm not into any of that. So,
Everything today is robotic. You
yeah,
know, all
impersonal.
computer and
Very
impersonal.
impersonal.
You can really talk to a person, a live person.
How nice it is to
Eh,
talk to people.
Yeah.
So, for example, when you're doing customer service calls, right, and
Yeah.
you get a robot, what if the robot's really good so that you don't have to talk to them as many times to get
No.
to what you want? Even
No,
then,
no, I
you
don't want
prefer,
it. I want to talk to a person.
even if a computer or robots are able to resolve your issues in a much shorter time for the customer service calls, you would still prefer talking to a human, even if it's less efficient for you. Why is
We're
that?
retired. We got nothing but time. I enjoy human interaction. When I'm talking to somebody on the phone, generally I'll get them off on another subject other than why they're answering my questions. Where you're from, or how's the weather where you're at, and I love that. So, no,
There's
I'm
no
not
more of
into.
this human interaction anymore. You don't see kids playing with each other. They're all on the phones. On social media. It's different.
It's a different day and age.
It's a different
Yeah.
day and age. The kids are, like I said, they're not involved in playing with, outside, and they're all in with their face on the phone or
We don't even see
tablets,
people
whatever.
playing outside anymore.
They
I mean,
don't
it's
play
just
outside like they
sad.
used to. There's
Sad.
no interactions.
And you feel like artificial intelligence, but the better it gets, it might make that situation even worse. That
Exactly.
people are going to be even more attached to their
Exactly.
phones and not interact with the real world.
Exactly. Yeah. People don't even look one another in the eye anymore. I mean, you walk down the concourse here, no one's going to smile at you and say, have a good day. Or
Sometimes you get friends. I see you got friends. 3 or 4 friends here sitting. They're texting each other instead of talking to each other. They just texting.
different,
You know,
different
that's,
generation. Once again, yeah, we're
I
not
mean,
into that.
that's not me. I mean, I like, the phones, I like the text, but I don't get too deep into it.
um, Looking at high school through K through 8, all of that, you're going to see a lot more kids in classrooms, especially because there's not a lot of people going into teaching now. So there's going to be, I think there might be an over reliance on AI, and then kids will lose that teacher connection, that human connection that you really need for teaching. So I think kind of that's what I was thinking.
Can you tell me more about the human connection between teacher and students, how you see it?
I think it's a bond because especially in elementary school, you learn how to socialize, you learn how to interact with people, you learn social standards. I think that's really lost unless you have that relationship. And when you're speaking to an AI or something, you can still gain that, but not in a way that's complete, right? That's not with somebody who's flawed or somebody who has real experience. So I think that's something that's lost. It's really important just to have a well-rounded education. So AI does have its place, but it doesn't have to be in absolutely everything. I think it would change how they think about school, right? Less of a place to go and more of somewhere to just gain knowledge, right? Because schools are communities, right? They're places where you get to have friends, get to get connections for later on in life, not just in the there and now. And if you have AI, then that kind of removes a part of that. So I think that's kind of what's being lost there is it's not just about learning, it's about community.
You're an entrepreneur
Yeah.
with quite a few companies. I
Yeah,
know.
so I think it goes back into the storytelling, but it's also inspiring the people that I work with and around. So like, going back to like the content creation, when I use the AI to kind of write the blog, I actually create video of myself telling the story just to be like show the emotion behind it. So I think like that, the connecting between people, I think that's one of the biggest, at least from like my perspective, connecting with other people, and not I don't want to say like networking, but just kind of creating a community. I think that's one of the things I hope it doesn't like take away.
Like it doesn't take over like the natural human like beauty that we are able to do, like make mistakes and then learn from it and innovate from that.
I think it's good that humans understand how to do stuff, even if AI can do it better than them. You just don't want to become like lazy and dependent on like tools such as AI.
It's true. Just took over everything.
You definitely want to learn how to.
It'd be like Wall-E
stuff
basically.
even if
We
they
don't
can
want
get
Wall-E.
Hmm?
We just don't want Wall-E to happen.
What does that
The
mean?
movie Wall-E.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we don't want that to happen. Humans, there's nothing we can do. We just be on vacation forever.
I want my siblings to be, to be creative, to be smart, and I'm not seeing that. Like they are, depending more on, ChatGPT or whatever. And I know my siblings are really smart, so I don't want them to depend on, AI. I want to see their work with their essay. I have like middle school siblings, and they're basically going to ChatGPT. Like I'm not against that. If you want to brainstorm, rough draft, all this stuff, but like don't use, take it like copy and paste, basically.
One of the things that I not necessarily dislike, but I'm wary of about AI is that it might take away. It might make your life so easy such that you don't actually go through the hardship or the process of learning something, such that, I mean, it's like from a very, very simple standpoint, like if you watch like the movie, was it like Wall-E, I think, where things become too easy to access and such that you don't develop the character that you need to. Re-summarizing, I think there are certain things that it's not just about learning the outcome, but going through the process of it, which actually builds your character and your wiring. It's just playing basketball, right? If you have an AI that, let's say, analyzes your body movements and tells you exactly how to fix your shot form, like this angle, this motion, this torque, whatever, like you might be able to get an optimal shot very quickly. But if you didn't have AI and you spent like a year getting to the same point instead of like 1 week, sure, like, yeah, on a rational standpoint, you're much slower and you're a worse player, but mentally you've like understood the mechanics of your body through your own experimentation. I think that builds a spirit of truth seeking that is only possible if you just like experiment by yourself. So I think, yeah, it might take away the individuality of the learning experience.
just I hope it doesn't change our way of living too drastically to the point to where we have our decisions being made for us. Like for example, I think there's a restaurant somewhere in Europe. They're testing it out. Basically, they're trying to order, and the AI is basically trying to predict what the person's gonna eat. And it predicted it, and the person was like, wasn't really it, but I'll take it. That's scary. Because if like it could get to one point to where you'll have, hey, you might want this. Oh yeah, you know what, I like it, but it can get to a point to where it's like, hey, you gotta eat this. I say, I don't want that. I mean, I've always looked into it. I like it. I use the tools. I write when I write emails, when I write documents, if I want to like structure something out, I just ask AI, ChatGPT. That's what I mean. Like it helps me, but like don't. That's it. Stay there. Don't cross the line.
AI has the power to shape consciousness of people, right? So look, it begs the question: are people in general bringing out their own thoughts, their own ideas, and their own creativity, and their own true nature through their own words? Could they use AI to shape their words, their speech, their syntax, right? Just looking at the fundamental way they say things, is that going to be changed just because there's AI involved, or is it going to be the way they actually want to sound like? Is it going to be the way that they want to express themselves, right? So is it authentic if you're using AI? I don't know.
I think it's just the question of when 10 people are gathered around to work a problem or just talk about something, it doesn't get reduced to, hey, what does, say, GPT have to say or Lambda have to say, right? Like what you have to say is important. You can't offload that to an AI or let that AI replace your thoughts. I think that's the way I look at it.
I know it definitely does a lot of good at the end of the day, but I think when it comes down to creativity, I just hope it never replaces that because it's just to this day you just never know what's AI created and what's human created at this point. So just creativity.
How does that matter to you personally?
Personally, I listen to a lot of music. I love music. I've been listening to a lot of AI generated music. I don't like it. Same with like drawings. Same thing like I just don't like them. I know it's like very different. Like if you were to type it in, like for example, a tree and a car parked next to it, it'll give you like a ridiculously looking. It'll give you what you're asking for, but it's just not the same as when it comes down to a human you're drawing it or creating it themselves. There's no one to thank. At the end of the day, like if you let's say, oh, I really love this rap artist and I love this rap music, who am I supposed to thank? Or who am I supposed to look up to, or who am I supposed to go see, for example, at concerts or anything? There's no one to go see if it would become to that point.
I would say artwork, like paintings, things like that, because AI artwork is really big right now. As we saw in the writer's strike, I hope it doesn't replace creatives as well. So that's entertainment and art is for me.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's important to keep that creative nature alive, and it's super easy for AI to come in and replace that, right? I mean, obviously it's efficient, it's quick, it's easy, there's a lot of benefit there, but there's a lot of downside when it comes to like being able to take away from like artists and people who are involved in that industry. So it just doesn't feel it. There's something about hearing a song or looking at a picture that was painted or drawn by somebody, but when like technology did it and it didn't stem from somebody's mind, I don't know, it just takes away from the specialness of it all, so that's my perspective.
Right, more about the
of
artist.
course,
Like
of
when you
course.
go to a museum, oh my gosh, who's like Dolly, like their artwork. You go to see their pieces, not just, oh, this is a cool painting of an elephant I saw in a dream. Like you go to learn more about the artist and why the artist
and knowing
made that
somebody
piece.
like sat down and invested a lot of time into that. I think that's a big thing too, like knowing this was somebody's passion project, right? And it took more than just a few seconds for a computer to generate it, right? So yeah.
And whenever I look at AI generated art, paintings, photographs, I often feel that it's empty. Like it looks like art, there's color, there's a person, but just from sort of more of like an artist point of view, I feel like there's nothing there. And
How are you able to tell?
how are you able to tell?
Even without any context.
Yeah, you can tell because when a real person creates art with an intention, like every brushstroke or how the decisions and the colors that go into it is intentional. But with AI generated content, it sort of is like, it doesn't mix like these colors, it just doesn't really tell a story.
Maybe you can just kind of sense it.
You
the
can
intention.
sense it, yeah. And sometimes when real people create artworks, it also lacks. So it also lacks, it can also be empty, but if it's created with more intention and thought, it generally, that sort of is like the difference between great artworks and like paintings or artworks that may lack a bit of it doesn't communicate what's within or what the artist wants to express. But with great artworks, you can kind of engage, and you can, some artworks make you cry. You can kind of just tell the artist and how the process that they went through while creating it. And I don't see that in AI generated artworks.
Job. Yeah, my employment.
Yeah, so what is your job? What are you working on?
I use software, so I mean, I think that's definitely a spot that it's got a lot of advancements going in, so it's not looking great for me, but fingers crossed.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a mechanical engineer, and I hope that it won't be able to replace that. But I do hope that it will be able to automate some of the tasks, like drawing, and already obviously a lot of any engineer's job is already automated with computers. But to be able to take that next step and have it do some more intelligent things might be nice. But I hope that it doesn't replace the creative design element that's required in most technical jobs.
So I'm a writer. I'm an English major currently. So I do feel like wanting to go into a writing career. There is a sense of feeling threatened that AI could replace that. But I've also been in rooms with people presenting AI generated poetry and writing, and I've been in a lot of other rooms where people are presenting historical poetry and poetry they've written themselves. And I don't think AI will ever get to that point of being able to understand the human writing process a little bit, where it's very emotional. AI doesn't have the capacity to do that. So I think that's definitely the first and foremost thing and most relatable thing to me.
I'm not so much of a fan of it. I'm not so much of a fan of it because I used to work for Amazon, and when I was working there, they were already creating robots and stuff like that. It was going to replace just people's jobs, and just a robot can move quicker, faster, more efficient, stuff like that. So
And they have a salary.
yeah, exactly, and it's cheaper. It's cheaper too. But like I said, it's flawed with everything. So it's a newer thing. They're trying to perfect it. I'm not sure if they will. Like I said, I'm not too much of a fan of AI and the robots taking basic customer service jobs. But it's cool. It's different. I'm open to trying it out, but for the most part, I'm not a fan of it. So.
Well, first of all, I hope it doesn't take over our jobs.
Do you mind me asking what you guys do?
Oh, we're flight attendants.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you think AI could potentially take over your jobs?
It's possible. Yeah, absolutely. But as far as what it could do for positive, I think it could not just distract, but it could avoid possible things happening for that are bad or wrong. It could correct things, be more perfect and precise. So in a sense, that's a good thing.
So adding to the safety measures as well.
Right. Sure. Yeah, I think so. It seems like computers are more precise. So
More precise,
there's
yeah.
humans. There's so much more, range for human error. So, yeah, I think AI would probably be best in that situation.
So the way I think about this again is that there's no point being paranoid about whether it'll take over my job or not. I think it's up to me to ensure that I don't stop thinking is I think what I'm trying to say, that just because there's an AI to help me, I don't stop thinking and just relying on that, because ultimately each of us bring something to the table, and that I don't think an AI can ever generalize, right? So I think the fundamental way I'm looking at this is, yes, it's a tool, and if you are relying on a skill that can be automated, and that you think is easily replaceable, it's on you to upskill rather than try and blame AI or a third person for letting that happen.
So in all walks of life, I mean, like I said, we use it for work a lot, just silly things like emails. But I think about it daily. It's getting better and better, especially as we're getting into an election year. It's really important to know what's AI, what's human made, real. Election year, I'll emphasize that. Other than that perspective, I don't know if I have any other opinions about it. I mean, it's everywhere. I don't think you can escape it. It's not going away.
Yeah, daily. I mean, I think about it daily too. I think it's a great thing, but I think it needs to be. I think it needs to be analyzed and fit. We need to do a good job of making sure that we don't let it get out of control, because I think it's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
I mean, it can have a lot of positive impact, but I think it has that inverse effect too. It can cause a lot of negative impact if we don't make sure that we, go about it carefully. So
It's a double-edged sword.
yeah.
Agreed. I mean, I feel like it needs boundaries and it needs limits, because I feel like things can go too far. I'm thinking of just like how we can represent ourselves, like on social media platforms and things like that. Like, even just being catfish, like those types of things. You can make yourself whoever you want to be. It seems like with those things, and be really deceitful. And I think that can be taken too. Like my mind, when I think of AI, my mind goes that direction. I'm a mom. I've got young kids. I am concerned about like how that's going to, how their minds are going to be able to process that, and how they're going to be able to discern what's real and what's not.
But I do have friends who like have had it easier than ever, of just like, oh, I just need to get an essay written, so I'll write it out using this chat thing, and then I'll use like another AI checker to like throw it off from my professors, and then boom, they're able to pass a class like really easily. So, I mean, if we're going down that rabbit hole, I'd say like college education is gonna be a bit more fraudulent.
So your eyes, pretty much that way in the future, like if you're boarding the plane, they can just tell, oh, this is Jen, she's been through here, like you're fine. But they don't have any signs to say like you can opt out, because not everyone wants their identity taken. So I think it's kind of scary, because you don't know what they're doing with this information to some extent.
So it sounds like you're more concerned about the privacy aspects of AI collecting information from
Yes,
people as
because
well.
we don't know what they're doing with it. I think they should publish this somewhere and say this is what we're trying to do. But it shouldn't be like a shocker. You just get there and they tell you, look at the camera and this is like you're good to go. So they should kind of give you like a chance to see whether you accept it or not before they make it. Right now it's not mandatory, but most people don't know you can opt out.
Yeah, no, I like it. I think it's like, for example, like when I create processes, I try to ask ChatGPT or like Jasper to like create like a template or like the SOP shell. So then I can go in and just kind of elaborate on what it is. So it does make me a little bit more efficient on the things that I'm not the best at. Yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's actually pretty cool. So I think it's just kind of finding like the middle ground and like weaving the human aspect.
There is also that thing about representation. So you have artists that come from all different backgrounds, and like I mentioned before, AI has to be trained. So if the data that's available to train that AI machine or that machine learning is biased, then anything that it spits out can only capture but so much of that image. It's data at the end of the day. So I don't think we are at a place with AI yet where there is enough inclusivity in the data for it to be a reliable all-around integration, so to speak. What biases are being put into these machines that are being then pushed out into our society even more? And then who has access? So I think there are a lot of AI is just going to fall into the plane of the society that it's in. And we are not a great society in a lot of respects. So the machines that we're building up are going to reflect the cultures that it comes from.
Even though I recognize the potential harm with AI, like I hesitate to like legislate any blanket policy that says, okay, prevent AI from doing this or prevent AI from doing that, because any given use case for AI can help so many people, even though it may harm some people in some ways.
You know, when I was in my 20s, I had never seen a computer until I came here to this country. But you know, it was 20 years now. Now it's very different. Phones are almost a computer. Can do a lot of things. Just a simple phone. Yeah, I think about it, but I'm not too worried.
Because you feel like it's not going to really affect you as much.
Well, you know, in my time, in my life, probably not. Because, you know, I had some friends, relatives that work in the fields, like picking up strawberries or something like that. Other friends that work in the construction. And I think it's going to be really hard that AI can replace those workers. I'm not saying that it's not going to happen, but probably in many years, you know, who knows many years what how it's going to be.
I think it has a place. I think that there's a time and a place for AI. Um, I don't know what that time and that place is, but I think there's a lot of people that think it can take over a lot more than it really can.
My take is I just want to see how far it can go. I'm pretty invested in AI, so I want to see how far it can really help us go, or see how can it help us advance technology or make things more efficient. And I know that can be like scary for some people because it might take away jobs, but I'm just really interested as how far it can go.
The way I think about it is it's more of an assistant rather than something that's just going to replace people, because at the end of the day, I think creativity and human ingenuity cannot be automated.
I mean, I think a lot of people fear that AI will, I don't know, take over, take a lot of people's jobs. I truly believe that it will help us progress as like a human race. I think people potentially worry too much because of like I don't know, pop culture or movies make us fear. So I think, in my opinion, we can use AI as a tool to I don't know, improve everyone's lives.